What makes you happy?
Be yourself, be positive. Just another mindset.
Hello, friends, and welcome to a new episode of the Just Another Mindset podcast, the show that inspires you to change and live a more exciting life. My name is Ismael, and each week I bring to you a relevant conversation, message, or topic that will not only entertain you, but help you to change towards a more meaningful and satisfying life, individually and collectively. Let us get inspired and embrace collective changes for the better. In today's episode, I have the great opportunity to share the story of Gary Clinton with you guys. And it is a very personal and it is a very inspiring story alike. In this episode, we talk about why Gary feels amazing and that he definitely did not feel this way all his life. We talk about how he masked the pain of someone close committing suicide, and Gary talks about his path from alcohol via hard drugs all the way to rock bottom. He elaborates on taking a committed decision to change and asking for help, and we discuss the power of therapy, journaling, meditation, and exercise. Sleep and eating healthy food are two ways towards giving yourself the best chance of success, and we discuss even more. Finally, we talk about framing, energy, and charity, and you will learn about the power of a goal card that sits in your pocket. And with that, Gary, a warm welcome to the Just Another Mindset podcast. And my first question for you is, how do you feel today and what is on your mind?
Thank you, Ismael, for the introduction. And yes, I'm feeling very, very good. In fact, let me change that to amazing. I'm feeling amazing today. Or how am I doing? Amazing today. And I will, later on in this conversation, I will describe why I'm feeling amazing. So you got that to look forward to.
Wonderful. Amazing. Sounds like a very great state of mind to be. And I'm excited to hear about why you, in fact, do feel amazing and awesome. But before we go there, Gary, maybe you can tell our audiences a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what brought us here today.
Awesome. Thanks very much for that. Let me ask you first question. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for asking. That's, in fact, a question that doesn't come back too often. I feel wonderful. It's a very nice day. We are recording on a Monday. It's sunny. It's summer. Dialing in from Poland. Yesterday, I went for a very nice cycle loop, let's call it. I feel wonderful. And I'm looking forward to having a very nice, valuable conversation with you, Gary. Thanks.
That sounds amazing. Yeah. A valuable conversation. It's nice that you set that tone for this conversation. So yeah, I like that. And how do we get here? Ultimately, I DM'd you on Instagram and I want to get on podcasts. I want to get my name out there. And, my life is pretty incredible. I think you asked more about me. Is that right? Yeah. So my life's pretty awesome. I mean, I do a lot of great things. I don't have to work anymore. I choose to work. I'm financially independent. I've got great relationships in my life. My energy is amazing. I feel strong, feel excited for my future. There's a lot of positives in my life right now, but it wasn't always this way. Okay. It definitely wasn't always this way. And if we want to reel back the tape a while ago, it definitely wasn't anything close to this. And I couldn't have even imagined being in this certain situation. So before I give you any context to a story, and I hope you don't mind me sharing a bit about that story, Ismael, is that there's two things I want to mention to maybe to the listeners now that could get some value. One is, there's a quote that I don't know who it come from, but the quote is, "It's never too late to have a good childhood." And what that means is that at any time of your life, whatever's gone on in your life, there's still moments of maybe birthdays, Christmases, holidays with your family or family time that are blissful. And you can focus in on them and you will feel them. Or you can focus on the negative stuff and you'll feel them too. And the other context is that this is just my story. You have your story. I believe anyone can come out of their story at any stage. But know your story. Okay, know your own story. If you ever want to get more popular or more known, I'm sure on a podcast you're going to be asked this question: what's your story? So as a listener, do you know your own story? And if you don't, sit in the mirror and tell yourself there's a story for 30 seconds, get a 30-second version, then get up to a 2-minute version, get a 5-minute version, and maybe have a 50-minute version on a one-to-one. So in terms of my story, I've given you, the positive aspects of an amazing, awesome life I'm having right now. But again, it wasn't always that way. At 16, my dad committed suicide, and that obviously had a traumatic effect on my life. I just masked my pain with playing video games all day, and I've done that up until 18. And when I turned 18, it's a responsible thing to do is drink alcohol in Ireland at 18. United States 21. But in Ireland, it's 18, so that was actually responsible. I know some of my friends, maybe Ismael, some of your friends started drinking alcohol 13, 14, 15, 16, whatever it was. Yeah, but I was responsible in that regard. And then I turned irresponsible. So one weekend will turn into another weekend, and I'll do it every weekend. And then maybe even midweek as well, I drink alcohol. But then one weekend I was offered drugs. Took drugs. And that turned into, once every weekend, and, once every midweek too. And then it turned into every day of every week of every month. And I was a drug addict altogether. And I don't mean kind of a drug addict. I mean, I was a drug addict as I was doing drugs in work. That's how much of a drug addict I was. I was in debt to drug dealers. I was having arguments with my family consistently. I was hanging around with bad people. Not bad people. I was hanging around with people that weren't a positive influence in my life. I was doing a lot of bad things, and I was messing up my life. And eventually, it all came closing in, and I hit rock bottom. And I hated my life. I hated a lot of things about my life. And I don't recommend people going to rock bottom, but rock bottom is a good foundation to build on. So please don't go to rock bottom if you don't have to. Then I got help. And I went to therapy, and that was amazing when I got that therapy help. It wasn't only just the therapist that was in there. I mean, I had to do the work myself. I committed to not drinking alcohol anymore. I committed to leaving certain friends that were a bad influence for my life. I committed to stop doing drugs and alcohol. So both of them there. And then also started to do exercising more and eating healthier more. These are just some common things that we all know we should do. We all know we should meditate, read, visualize, journal. And we all know them things: exercise, eat healthy. Well, are we doing them things? And I would swear to you that if you do them things that you know you should do, and if you did do them, they would improve your life indefinitely. So over a course of a matter of 2 to 3 years, I became a best-selling author in the free section, by the way. Okay, not the paid section. So don't think it's all that good. I choose to work, but even to this day, I still feel fear, still feel anxiety, still feel worried that I'm not worthy of my goals or my visions or my dreams. I'm still just a normal guy here and today, but my level of standard has absolutely improved. My whole life has improved. And if you're listening and you're in a rough place, you can get help and you can change your life indirectly. My dad went one way, I went the other way. And I can tell you, my way seems a lot better so far.
Well, first of all, Gary, thanks for sharing that story, and thanks for creating that introduction also for our audiences. I mean, you are sitting here with a big smile on your face for those who cannot see us. You seem to be having an awesome life, but when we go through your story, there have been times that have not been that easy as you just outlined and as you just described. And I think it's very important that we talk about that and that we acknowledge that. And if you don't mind, we may go into a little bit detail on some of that topic. You said like when you were 16, your dad committed suicide. So obviously that was a very life-changing moment into your life. And then you said when you were 18, you started drinking alcohol. How long did it take you to become that, what you called a drug addict? Was it over weeks, over months, over years? How much of an impact and how long did that take?
Awesome. From 18, when I started doing drugs, like all types of drugs, okay, all types. It kind of took like a snowball effect. Momentum. Once you start, the ball gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you hang around with more people and more environments, and it just becomes your lifestyle of who I was. So it really didn't take too long. It was, I would say, within under a year, I was a drug addict, and then that lasted for about 2 to 3 years of a completely, decimate life. It was just relationships were horrible. Life was horrible. Although the instant gratification was amazing, the long-term benefits were zero to none. And I also have an interesting story about being 18, getting my results from school to where I am now. So if you want to ask a follow-up question on the drugs or the habits or the addictions that I had back then too, that's fine.
Yeah, of course, it would be interesting. On the one hand, I'm asking that question to understand, okay, how fast can that happen? And you were talking about the environment a lot, right? So I think the environment plays a huge role. And then it would also be interesting for me, for my understanding, you've been in that environment for a couple of years. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. Ismail, did you ever do them type of things?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been not so much to cope. I don't know if that's even the right.
Yeah. I would have used them for cope. For sure.
Okay, then I would say for myself, not too much to cope with different emotions or feelings, but to create such. Meaning, I mean, I studied in Amsterdam. We've tried different things, I would just want to call it. I would assume, and this is an assumption, we haven't really talked about the degree of drug consumption in depth before our conversation, but I would say it's a different level to what you went and experienced. But I do know different substances, let's just call it.
For sure. Yeah, awesome. Amsterdam's an interesting place.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
It certainly is. And after a couple of years, let's just say 1, 2, 3 years that you were in this environment, my main question would be, when and why did you take a committed decision for a change, and how did that happen? I think it's not something that happens overnight, but yeah, maybe you can just enlighten us on that a little bit.
For sure. Ideas in my mind are a collection of thoughts that we've had, and they've grouped together, and that is an idea. So yes, in an essence, it was that moment, Ismail, where it was a snap, and I said, "Hey, I need to get help." But it was ultimately what was leading up to that moment of snap, where I needed that help. It was like realizing that I feel horrible on a day-to-day basis, waking up with bad routines, no sleep, no friends, no money. Waking up to that on a day-to-day basis, that can really degrade someone. I'm going to say someone in the general context, because I think it can degrade anyone. And as you realize that, and you start to become like, oh my God, this is my life and I hate my life, you just become aware more, and you just say, this, I need help, and boom, you do get that instant moment. And I believe, people with suicide, like my dad, I mean, he came to a moment where it was, and he checked out, instead of I went, I need help, and I went and got the help. And it's not easy. It's actually strange when, they have that stigma of mental health, reaching out. If I knew what I knew now, right, back then, that's the old cliche. But like, people who are suffering right now, even if they're pretty successful, an 8 out of 10 life, and they've got an amazing business, or world-class elite professionals, they are getting help right now. They have assistants, they have PAs, they have dietitians, they've got counselors, therapists have therapists, coaches have coaches, right? So why wouldn't anyone get help in who's feeling depressed or feeling low? Why wouldn't you get the help and not listen to that? I always say a beautiful analogy is the angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other shoulder. Or you just stop listening to the devil and realize that when you get help, that help will move you out of that situation that you're in. And that's any regard of life, top down to bottom, you get help.
Whom did you seek help from in the very beginning, Gary? Because I can only imagine, again, that's an assumption, that there is quite a few people out there for whom it seems helpless, that you don't really know whom to turn to. Because if your environment is doing the same thing, if your environment is living the same life, whom do you actually ask? Do you ask your mom? Do you ask people in your surroundings? Probably you're like afraid to do so. So whom did you actually ask for help, and how did you approach that?
No, that's beautiful the way you put that, Ismael, is that yes, you are in that environment. And when you're looking around at like your friends, or you're looking around at the people that are in that environment, you go nightclubs all the time. They are not people that you can really go to and say, hey, dude, I need help. Because what they will do is say, hey, we need to go back on the session to get rid of this pain or whatever. What I did actually have, gratefully, I did reach out and I went down to my mom one evening and just said, Mom, I need help. And I think maybe there was a relief on her side. And she went, found therapy, found therapist, and then I was starting within a week or two. And I'm feeling a bit like fear or anxiety right now. I'm shaking because that's the way I was feeling, thinking about going out to ask my mom. Is it is nerve wracking. It is fear based of, but you got to realize, if it's your family or if it's a guardian or if it's a really, really good best friend or a teacher or anything, a mentor, that they will, in their deepest hearts, want to help you and not bring you back down a bad cycle or not disown you, or hopefully they don't disown you and they do want to get you help.
So I understand it starts with an acknowledgement for yourself, but then also with an expression to the outer world that something is in fact wrong and really seeking that help. Is that correct?
Definitely. Yeah. Inside and then outside.
Gary, thanks for sharing that. And I would like to detail the topic of depression a little bit, if you don't mind. And I want to quote yourself from your very book. And you write that depression is not picky. It doesn't have a certain agenda and it doesn't care about you, although it makes you think it does. And then you also say recovery from depression is possible. How can we link those two quotes and what comes to mind if we speak about them?
Beautiful. Awesome. It's great that you have a quote from my book there. I kind of gave you a metaphor earlier with the angel on one shoulder, the devil on one shoulder. And you can see this as a scale of like 1 to 10, right? 1 being, you're completely suicidal. 10 being on top of the world, right? Literally on top of the world, feeling amazing. So when you ask me how am I doing, right, I say amazing. I'm up down this higher echelon scale. If you had asked me back then, how am I doing? Reality would have been, I would have said good or not bad or whatever, but reality would have been I'm pretty freaking suicidal and depressed. The devil doesn't really care who you are, what you are. It doesn't care if you're male, female, or any type of gender out there. It doesn't care if you're rich, poor, black and white. It doesn't care anything. It will beat you to your knees and it will keep you there all day, every day if you let it. So depression really doesn't give a damn who you are. Like, how do we link that to recovery? It's interesting. I mean, there's many ways you can link it to recovery. Ismael, do you believe anything's possible?
I believe most of the things are possible, and I believe pretty much anything is possible if it's possible in our minds. There is nevertheless a few physical laws that we cannot break, and that's the much of a caveat I would give it.
I love them laws, yeah, and we can actually use them laws to our advantage. I believe anything's possible in all of our universe, and I believe definitely recovery is possible from depression. There's no doubt about that. I know I've done it. I know there is countless people like Dwayne Rock Johnson had depression before. Jim Carrey, I don't know if you want to call him recovered, but he's definitely gone through depression. There is countless examples of people who have recovered.
Maybe you can talk us through a little bit the path of your healing, if you want to say. So, yeah, in the very beginning, you said you sought help with your mom. She organized therapy and good counseling for you. Again, how long did it take you? What exercises did you go through yourself? Maybe we can use that later as a transition as what kind of exercises do you do today with your clients yourself? And also, I would be very interested in this very present moment. You said you're awesome, you're feeling very well. Do you still talk to someone on a regular basis? And if so, about what do you talk with that person? I know that's a couple of questions and maybe we can link them, go through them one over another. But this path of healing, that's what I will call it. If you have a different name, feel free to name it.
Let's do it. Healing in terms of how I've gone through healing, and I believe everyone's journey will be differently, and that's completely fine. it literally is. This might be cliche or whatever, but it is find out what works for you. That's really true. For me, I did get therapy. A lot of people don't like therapy, but therapy worked for me. Because I put in the work, and that's what my therapist said, that it worked because I put in the work. It was also her help though. So when I got therapy, that was amazing. Kind of made with her some decisions that I'm going to do. I'm going to weed out some friends. I'm going to weed out the drugs. I'm going to weed out the alcohol. So there was a couple of decisions in there that we came to an agreement on. And then I done journaling. I don't actually do journaling nowadays, but when I done journaling back then, that transformed my life altogether. I would journal about how my day was, what thoughts came up in my day, what am I doing next week, any ideas or plans. I write them in the journal. That journal, I still have it. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I cherish it to my heart. So that helped me journaling. And then I started meditating. And I journal and meditate. And I do that before I got up for work, or I had my work, my day job. And then I'd maybe evolve into some exercise as well. So I was journaling, meditating, and exercising. And then 3 things right there alone will literally more than likely be able to keep anyone at a very consistent 7 out of 10 mindset. So that was really the basic standard of my healing was therapy and making a couple of decisions in therapy that made sense. Right? Then moving into journaling, meditating, and exercising. And them things really, I think all the listeners will understand how important or how beneficial, let's say that, how beneficial journaling, meditating, and exercising are.
And I think this is all 3 activities that I use or that I have used for myself a lot as well. Meditation practice is still part of my daily routine. I exercise, or I try to exercise every day as well. So those 2 are there. I do also have some kind of daily journal, but as you said, I think there are certain phases in life where a journal can really give you a needed structure. One question that came to mind when you were talking, Gary, is, so now you acknowledged that you have something to heal, that you want to develop further. You do get therapy. And now you start with journaling, you start with meditation, and you start with exercise. And this may only be a few months after you've been on a very different stream of life with drugs, with parties, and so forth. How do you feel about yourself meditating, journaling, and doing exercise?
I've got a beautiful question I want to ask you too in a moment around depression and healing as well. For me, how was I feeling? I kind of visioned myself having an amazing morning before work. So if I've had work at 5 a.m., which is in Dublin Airport, and I used to do at the start, used to do jugs in there when I was starting there. And if you know the airport, you have to get them through the airport to do this. So that's how much of a drug addict I was. Okay. So when I started to move on, I don't know if I should say them things, honestly.
You can.
But as I started moving on the process, and I started journaling, I would bring my journal into work. I'd journal about my day, journal about how I'm feeling in my day. I'd meditate before work, and then I'd do some exercise before work. And I can just remember being up at like 3 a.m., 2 hours before work, sitting there for 15, 20 minutes, meditating, then doing a load of push-ups. And like anyone exercising, when you do push-ups, you feel energized, buzzed. So I can still remember that moment when I am setting my bowl out in the morning, I am getting my breakfast prepared the night before. It's like, wow, my whole life has completely changed 180%, 180 degrees. That I'm setting out my morning routine. I'm doing a morning routine that's empowering. I'm listening to motivational tapes that's giving me great inspiration, great buzz. It's like, wow, this life is so much better, but I couldn't recognize it when I was here. So I was feeling amazing. I wasn't always feeling amazing. Like, you could start to realize I was coming from a 1 out of 10 suicidal to depressed, and then you feel sad and you feel not bad, okay, all right, good, very good, excellent, amazing. So I was just moving along the process, and I'm still moving along the process from a 8 to a 9 to a 10 out of 10 life. Over time, I got better for sure as I'm getting help. And can I ask you a question, Ismael? I want to ask you around, have you ever suffered with depression?
Well, I'm not quite sure with the definition of depression. I would talk about myself and I would experience myself as being a very happy, joyful human being, I don't know that that excludes the possibility that I have ever dealt with depression. In my family, there's people who have suffered depression. I certainly had moments that I didn't feel all that great about myself, but I never reached a point that I would go and seek help. So my natural understanding of myself would be, okay, if you are depressed enough, I'm putting that in parentheses, then I would go and seek help. So putting that around, I would say I was not depressed so far in my life, but I can't really give you a clear-cut answer because I'm not an expert what is depression. For sure, there have been times in my life that I have done a whole lot more of thinking, if you want to say, and questioning. And I'm usually someone who puts thoughts into action as well. I mean, this is one of the reasons why we are sitting here. My audience is pretty well aware why I started the Just Another Mindset podcast. There is podcast episodes on that. But I came to a point in my life where I started questioning a lot. And I've invested quite a few years to build a career in management and strategy consulting. And the pandemic hit and I questioned myself, is this the only thing that's worth living for? And is this what I want to pursue my life or the rest of my life? And quite clearly, quite frankly, the answer was no. So I changed quite a bit. I put things into my own hands, and now I am here living a responsible life, being responsible for my own life. So that's a very long and vague answer for have I ever been depressed? I don't think so, but I couldn't give you a guarantee that I never had any depressive thoughts for sure.
So let's just take, for example, if you were depressed during that COVID time in 2020, where you were questioning yourself. Did you have you mentioned that you kind of changed yourself, right? So did you have a healing process?
Well, I did have a fairly, I don't know if that was natural to me, but there was a moment, and I have to give you a little bit of context. I was working on a project in the west coast of the USA and doing such from Germany, meaning I had like time difference of 9 hours. As a strategy consultant, you not necessarily have short working hours anyways. And I had some German business to do as well, which led me into a phase not meeting any friends anymore because every night I was working, including weekends. And before even going into that project, I was smart enough to tell myself to have 1 hour of physical and 1 hour of mental activity a day. It doesn't matter what this project would do to me. It doesn't matter what work would do to me. I decided that I would put aside 1 hour for mental activity and 1 hour for physical activity. And it wasn't even clear cut what it's going to be. In the beginning, it started with 5-minute stretching after I went out to the cold park and did my calisthenics. Then it progressed into 10 minutes of yoga. Now I'm doing 30 minutes of yoga every morning. It started with a 2-minute meditation and it advanced into having 10, 15, 20 minutes meditations if I want so. So I had this natural understanding that I should also take care of myself if the environment is pretty heavy on me, let's call it. Because, I mean, to be fair, I've just said I didn't really see my friends so much anymore. But when I saw my friends on a Saturday and Sunday, obviously you want to make up for stuff, right? So you go out, you party, you drink, you do all the stuff that does not really benefit you for another work week like that. So I had this natural calling in my head that, Ismael, you take an hour per day for your mental activity and an hour a day for your physical exercise. And that, I believe, helped me tremendously.
Beautiful. It really is, because you mentioned yoga, you mentioned meditating, you mentioned exercising, I think you mentioned journaling before. So literally, whatever works for you as a listener, if you find yoga helpful, do yoga. You find visualizing helpful, do it. You find journaling helpful, do it. And do it regularly because it's helpful.
Maybe we take that a little bit to the present moment and talk about clarity and self-work. I believe we've already mentioned quite a few tools and techniques that each and everyone can use. But before we go there, again, a question I stumbled across also in your books is the question, Gary, I would like to ask you, who are you?
Who am I? This question is mind-boggling because I could tell you I am XYZ, and I don't know if that is true because I could also be XYZ or ABC. Who am I is a long form question that I don't know if we will ever know who am I. I can just simply say I am this, and if that's me, cool. If you take that as face value that I am amazing, I'm enthusiastic, I'm upbeat, I'm a friendly, confident, amazing person, then that's who I am. That's who I am. Who are you, Ismael? What would you say?
Who am I? I would say a curious human being that likes to help others and that likes to explore, that likes to adventure. But as you said, this question is mind boggling and we don't really have an answer for it, right? I mean, I think it's a constant development, a constant change as well. I mean, who am I in this very moment might differ to who am I in 5 minutes or in 5 weeks or in 5 years. So I don't think there's a clear definition of who am I. There might be a certain state that I am experiencing at that very moment without becoming too spiritual here. I don't believe in job titles. I don't believe in I am what I do. I am what I feel at this very particular moment. And then it comes to very close to your answer. I feel very good. I feel very awesome. I feel energetic. I feel enthusiastic to have a great conversation with somebody who's like-minded. So in the end, this is what I am, who I am at this very moment.
That's awesome. Yeah. Amazing. I try to disassociate myself from them job titles too. I don't like I can say I'm a coach, but I'm also Gary. So I don't want to be coach. I'm Gary. This is who I am. I'm Gary. I'm not. And it's also just Gary is just a name like that was given to me. So is that who I am? But it's who I reference. I am Gary. So I'm not a coach. I'm not a XYZ, a therapist. I'm not an electrician. I'm Gary. That's what I want to be referred to as. So yeah.
Another assumption I want to drop there, Gary, is over the past few years, you, I assume, needed quite a bit of willpower. And maybe you can talk to that a little bit, to the power of will and how that helped yourself to go through the ups and downs of life, if you want to call
The power of will. I'm a big believer in giving yourself the best chance of success. So if you want to have will or motivation, right, give yourself the best chance of getting a will, getting inspiration. For me, and there's also, everyone has different standards of will and motivation and inspiration. Because if I say, to LeBron James, are you working hard today? He'd say yes. And if I say to a person who's like homeless, are you working hard today? They'd say yes. But the complete standard is just complete opposite. Hard work and two individuals is different. So yes, I work hard, but to you that is different, and to listeners that is different. So working well, I gave myself the best chance of success, and I knew. Well, I didn't know, but on hindsight, listening now, I knew. On hindsight, I now know that listening to tapes, be it motivational tapes, be it positive affirmations, listening to them over and over and over again would seep into my subconscious mind, which my subconscious mind controls my body, right? Because I'm not thinking about my arms moving right now. You're not thinking about nodding your head, Ismael. Right? So your subconscious mind controls your body. So if I can get them positive affirmations inside of myself, if I can get that motivation deep inside of myself, which I was playing motivational takes over and over and over, and I believe more in inspiration than motivation, I'll just note that. But if you play them tapes over and over, you're gonna have that will automatically. And we know this because if you listen to a sad song, Ismael, how do you feel? Sad. There's no doubt about it. You listen to a sad story, how do you feel? You feel sad, right? So you got to use them things to your advantage. You got to know that if I listen to a happy thing, I'm gonna feel happy. If I listen to motivation, I'm gonna feel motivation. And you might be in a lull, and it might take some time to start working. But just like anything, with a sad song, you're going to feel sad. Happy song, you're going to feel happy. A sad story, you're going to feel sad. You got to give yourself the best chance of having the best chance of motivation, and you'll have it. Best chance of inspiration. So I hope that's answered your question.
It did, certainly, and it actually raised a follow-up question. And you talk about certain trigger points, I would call it, like a sad song triggering you for sad emotions, and then having trigger points also for positive and energetic emotions. So what kind of trigger points, activities, songs come to mind? First question. And this latter one would be, do you avoid sad trigger points, or are there still part of your life that you also use in order to deal with certain things?
So I'll answer the second one first, which is, do I avoid some sort of triggers, as we're calling them here? I don't know if you know Tony Robbins. I'm pretty sure we all know Tony Robbins, one of the number one success coach in the world, right? I've asked this question to myself about Tony. Does Tony ever listen to sad songs? And that's, if I ever get to meet him one-on-one, I'm going to ask him that question. For me, I will say 95% of the time, I want to avoid such things. I want to stay away from drama. I want to stay away from the news. I want to stay away from sad songs, because I know internally the sad song is going to make me feel sad. And when I'm feeling sad, I'm not going to take actions that are in line with any type of goals. They're just going to be lying in bed, eating crap, feeling sorry for myself. That's my view. That's how I feel when I'm feeling sad. So I like to be in an energetic, enthusiastic state that I know I can feel amazing. I can have an amazing conversation. I can have an amazing day. I can move forward with my life feeling great. Like, do you think I want to go, snowboard and feeling sad, or do you think I want to go snowboard and feeling amazing and happy? Well, like any activity, by the way, am I going to do a public speak feeling sad, or am I going to do a public speak and feeling happy, energetic? Is the crowd going to pick up on me feeling sad, or is the crowd going to pick up me feeling happy? So I've got to know that really and truly, it's not only me. I have got to feel amazing for me, for my family, my mom, my sister, the son coming on the way, the boyfriend. I know for my friends, I've got to be an example who feels amazing. So absolutely, I try avoid 95% of the time the negative things that I believe, the negative triggers. And I'd love to know what you do on that. There is time and a place where a sad song comes on, it brings you back to a reminiscent time of a beautiful past that you've had. But even that is like, do I really want to be in the past? Do I really want to be in this sad moment? Or do I want to be moving into a beautiful moment that I can create? And kind of be a happy song in the beautiful moment. So I'll answer the first one now, is what songs or something comes into place, or what triggers. I would definitely use songs as a motivation and I'm a good fan of Eminem, Lose Yourself or Not Afraid, okay? I'm a good fan of them. Titanium is a good one by David Guetta, because he says, I am titanium. I am titanium. That is an affirmation. That is an incantation. And you're saying it, you're cheering it, you're getting that right into yourself. In terms of other triggers, right? I would, again, try to give myself the best chance of success. So does that mean like I get in enough sleep so then I can feel energetic throughout the next day? Am I eating crap food? Because when I eat crap food, I feel crap. Right? If I'm eating good food, I'm going to feel good. And again, I'm just giving myself the best chance to feel really good. Am I exercising? Am I exercising enough? Am I exercising hard enough? Yeah. Am I in conversations that are growing, or just, make me feel that dull feeling? So I hope that's answered two questions. Ismael, I'll throw back to you. Do you avoid some sort of triggers? And then also, have you got to go-to things that can get you into that state of, I will leave that blank.
Enthusiasm, joy, happiness. I think I will also answer the second question first, and that is, spending time with friends and family is something that really energizes me. Looking back at memories, even could be pictures, could be videos, could be messages of friends. And then I usually turn that around, call up random friends, or randomly call up friends rather, to say hi and to see how they are doing. And it gives me a lot of energy to speak to them, to see how they are doing. And even if they do not feel all that well, it's good to have a conversation, or it's even more needed to have a conversation, I believe. So that certainly can give me some energy. Then the three that you mentioned yourself, food, sleep, and exercise, certainly are good triggers for me as well. This is partly the reason why I have a good morning routine, to really wake up, start the day with an energized movement, with a meditation, because then, and I've talked about that a few times, it doesn't really matter what the day brings after that. Your day will already be a success if you for yourself decided the first hour for the day is really for yourself. And if you've accomplished all that you deem important for your daily routine, that is something that really helps.
I completely agree with that first hour of the day. Get yourself in there.
Get active. I mean, get active for me. Get super quiet and read a book for somebody else, even though I also really do like to do that. And yeah, also books do give me a lot of clarity, a lot of peace of mind. I really like reading. I really like coming back to books that I like. And this is, for example, something that I did not do as frequently when working a strategy consulting job, because there's just no time. So I told myself I'm going to implement a reading habit again. So I'm trying, and I'm pretty good with it, reading a book or reading parts of a book every day. So this is something that certainly does energize me. And do I avoid them? Do I avoid them is the first question. Not actively, but I'm more than sure that I do it subconsciously. So I'm very certain that I'm seeking the positive experience over the negative experience. I'm also very certain that, yes, I am a positive and energetic person, but that is also due to the fact that I choose not to live through again the sad periods of my life, which have been there. So I would say I'm rather present focused. I was about to say future focused, but I'm not so future focused. I think I'm pretty present focused. So I try not to look too much to the back, to think about stuff that might have made me sad or look not so well. But I really try to appreciate whatever we have in this very moment for ourselves, right? And I can just look out the window there, the sun is shining, there's nice trees. I have gratitude for that. It looks like even for you in Ireland, there is some sun out. So I think it's really about understanding what does the environment, this current moment has of an impact on yourself. So not often I find myself actively avoiding certain trigger points, but I'm on the other hand very sure that subconsciously I do, yes, and I actively choose to experience the positive effects on life rather than the negative ones. So if you turn that around again, it's avoiding the negative ones, yes.
Yeah. I'll just add on to that as where I just try and make it a habit to where I actively, unconsciously avoid them type of things.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And you mentioned it's sunny. You mentioned it's sunny here in Ireland. No, it's not sunny. It's cloudy. But what metaphor I love for anyone listening is that even in winter or wherever you're from, the dark clouds are there, yes. But what is behind the dark clouds? The blue sky, the sun shining on the back of the clouds. Right? So don't let the clouds block your vision, block your whole life. Don't let the dark clouds right now block what's going on behind that, because to me anyways, blue sky is a clear mind, nice sunny days, warmth, joy. So don't let them clouds affect you. When I see that, you can just see the blue sky. And then when I see the clouds there, you can just see through that and see the blue sky. So yeah, you're going to mention something.
No, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that metaphor. I think it's terrific. And when we talk, Gary, for the last 20 minutes or so, when we left the story behind a little bit, I could summarize the Gary who's talking to me to have like a very positive mental attitude. I know that this is a phrase that you also use yourself, and maybe you want to talk to that a little bit.
PMA, yeah, positive mental attitude for sure. Um, I'm not exactly sure to what road to take with talking about a positive mental attitude.
The first question is like, how would you define a positive mental attitude? And maybe we can see where the conversation takes us from there.
How do I define a positive mental attitude? Well, I would believe a positive mental attitude, if we know yin and yang, okay, yin and yang, there's always something good in something bad, and there's always something bad in something good. If you are going to the good and you're focusing on the good on 9,999 times out of 10,000, I would assume that you are in a positive state of mind. That's what I would say. What about you, Ismail? What would you define as a positive mental attitude?
Yeah, similar. I think looking on the bright side of life rather than spending too much time on sad emotions, fear, and so forth. But I also know that this is a luxury that I am able to choose because, as we have talked about, there is certain periods in life, you have experienced one of them very in depth, that this is not just a mindset switch, Gary, be happy, and Gary would be happy, right? So it takes time. It takes time to go through certain states of your life or certain periods of life. But the positive mental attitude, I would say, is, look at the bright side of life rather than complaining about things, and rather than seeing what's not there, seeing what is here and what you can be grateful for. I think this is a trick that I have learned over the past 30 something years in my life. And I'm very grateful for my parents who taught me that. And I'm very grateful for the environment that I grew up in and that I still live in, that I have the opportunity to, be fairly positive about life. And I think we've discussed a few tools, few techniques on how you can nurture such or even build such habits and build such a mindset. But I mean, in the end, this podcast is called Just Another Mindset because I believe in the power of will and the power of mind, because we can turn things around and we can change the perspective and so many things. I wholeheartedly believe that a lot of the bad things that happen also have a perspective that helps us. And if that's cleansing, if that's developing, maybe the Gary who's now talking to me would never be here if he would not have experienced what he did experience. And maybe the Gary who's now talking to me would not help as many people as he does with going through different phases of their lives if he would not have experienced what he did experience. So I believe it really is a perspective on life, and you can, to a certain extent, steer it from negative to positive.
I agree that you can't steer it from negative to positive. I love your point there that even with them events that have happened in my life or your life or any of the listeners' life, that you still can come out of this and then also see it as a positive. And when you do see it as a positive, like you mentioned, I don't think I ever would have been on this podcast if I hadn't gone through that. Because I probably wouldn't have went on this personal development journey. I probably just would have went and lived a normal me in life.
So Gary, if I would ask you on a scale from 1 to 10, how happy are you today?
So I love a scale of 1 to 10. I'm actually writing a book called On a Scale of 1 to 10. So this is in the book I mentioned, it's like, I can give you a simple answer. I'll just go 9 out of 10. Awesome. Right? That also fluctuates throughout the day. But how do we create a habit of where we're living up at an 8, 9, 10 out of 10 life daily? And also in happiness itself, there's also, content, which is a low form of happiness. Compared to euphoric, which is a high 10 of happiness. So where do we want to be on that individual scale of happiness? So I could say easily, yes, 9 out of 10. Boom, that's where I am. But how do we gravitate towards a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 on a consistent basis and make that a habit, make that a ritual? And it's not like we're going to be perfect and it's going to be 9 out of 10 always. We are never one of them numbers on the scale. But how can we keep creating a 9 out of 10 on a day-to-day basis? One of my actual big goals for this year, 80-20 of my 30 goals, 80-20 of my goals, three goals. One of my big goals go from an 8 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10. So I'm constantly working on that. And That's my own jurisdiction. That's my own view. That's my own scale. And I could say, how happy are you? And you could say, I'm a 10 because that's your version of 10. So we have our own individual independent. I love a scale of 1 to 10. So we can go into that, and I can really help various people. I remember at the start I mentioned, you asked me how am I doing. I said amazing, and then I said later on we could probably discuss this. I think now is a good point to discuss this. So Ismael, I want to do a little game with yourself and also with your audience and your listeners. So I want you to look around your room, literally look around. It could be on your computer or your room. I want you to look for the color green. I'm seeing green on your screen. So look for color green, 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 all the way everywhere you see green. Now tell me, please, listeners, what did you see that was yellow? Okay, and if yellow is cropping up in your peripheral view, that makes sense. What we did there was we just focused on one thing and we blocked out everything else. And then when we focus on another thing, the other things start cropping into our peripheral view. So we had green on our mind. We said green, 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 and that's everything. Nothing else was on our peripheral view. Nothing apart from green. So could we do this with problems? Could I go problems, problem, 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 and I'll find problem, 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 problem? The answer is yes. And we also could do it with another color. We'd go black, 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 black. You'd find black, and then I'd say, what did you find? That was blue, and then you'd find blue. We could also go with solutions to them problems, and we find solution, 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 solution. Now, if we go off that simple basis, that what we think, what we talk, we focus on. So if I say green, you focus on green. If I ask you a question, which you asked me at the start, how are you doing? You say, I'm all right. And then you get asked again 5, 6, 10 times by a colleague, you probably don't work, but by a colleague or by a family, how are you doing? You say, all right. We have just taken the same principle from green, 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 and we're going, all right, all right, all right, all right. And I believe that we will have all right conversations, we'll have all right finances, we will have all right emotions, we will have all right food, we will look at things as all right. And that's the way we primed ourselves. We've trained ourselves to just be all right. Now, all right to me is a 5 out of 10. All right is so much better than a 1 out of 10. It's so much better than a 2 out of 10. It's so much better to be all right listening now with your earphones, with your phone or whatever it is, wherever the listeners are, compared to a person who is, in Fiji with no clean water, who has to go out hunting for food, who hasn't got a roof over the head. There's a storm going to come in, going to ruin the whole village. And so it could be a lot worse. All right is completely all right. I'm not going to settle for all right as Gary. I'm going to move up that higher scale because that's where I want to experience my life on a higher end scale. So how am I doing? I'm doing amazing. I'm doing up on an 8, 9, 10 out of 10. And if I say amazing, 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 simply going back off the same principle of green, 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 or simply going off the same principle, all right, all right, all right, all right. We are blocking out all things that doesn't align up with that word or phrase. What does Henry Ford say? Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're both right. So instead of saying can't, I'm seeing cans. Instead of seeing all right, I'm seeing amazing. And I'm working with that. And I know inside of me that on a day-to-day basis, the gratitude is off the scales. The happiness is off the scale. The energy can be off the absolute rails. So what I'm doing is awesome. But that's my own scale. That's my own interpretation of my own scale. You have to look at your own scale and say, are you all right with getting all right results? Are you okay with okay results in your life? And again, you could be. You could be.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that little exercise. That was actually good fun and informative. And I think it really does help in a way to how to frame your own situation as well, right? And how to understand what you want to settle for. And as you said, if somebody wants to have an all right life, and this is pretty much all they're seeking for, it's all right. It's perfectly fine. And you can go there and feel great, and you can go and feel awesome, and each and everybody has this individual scale of 1 to 10. And the follow-up question I have, Gary, is that You said your main goal is basically to move your life from an 8 to a 9 on that very individual, subjective 1 to 10 scale. So if we would try to make that a little bit more tangible, what are the 3 things that come to mind that you want to work on? I don't know if 2022 is your time span, or if you schedule from April to April, I have no idea. But what is the 3 things that you really want to work on or are currently working on? What comes to mind?
So I carry this goal card around me, and this goal card, it just goes right in my pocket, and I carry it around with me, and that's what I say to myself each day. And when I say this to myself, what am I doing? I am green, 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 as the old age advice. Seek and you shall find. So as I say this to myself, I am getting ads in relation to this. I'm getting stories in relation to this goal. I'm getting conversations in relation to this goal. I'm seeing a billboard in relation to this goal. Things are being attracted to me in relation to this goal. So this is what I'm focusing on. And regardless of other two things, it's this what I'm focusing on a consistent daily basis. So yeah, that's what I'm focusing on. I'm not focusing on too many other things. You could say I'm just keeping my standard, because if my relationships are great, maybe my health's a bit down. If my health is a bit up, my finance might be a bit down. So I'm just keeping at a certain standard of these things, but I'm working individually on this. Excuse me, there's my affirmations. In fact, 11/11 is time for me to say this goal card to myself. So there's a fun fact.
Wonderful. Let's read it out loud. And for everybody who's not watching on YouTube but listening to the podcast, Gary has a print out goal card, and we have the perfect timing. So let's go and read it out if you don't mind.
Awesome. So let me give you a little, I don't know, I think I'll give you the context of why I say this to myself. So this is my goal by November 2022. Oh yeah, while I say this, it's important to put myself in the situation and really put yourself in the situation, not just a matter of, I'm just saying it for the sake of it, really just getting into that. So Ismael, let me read it out, and then as I read it out, I will describe what I'm going through in my mind as well, okay? So my goal by November 2022. I am so happy and grateful now that I am staying in a luxury apartment in Dubai. I'm incredibly healthy, fit, and very attractive. I also earn at least 50,000 euro a month, easily and effortlessly. So let me run through that again. So I am so happy and grateful. I am so happy and grateful is a beautiful phrase. I'm staying in a luxury apartment in Dubai. So as I was reading this out to myself, a vision came to me in my mind. And as I'd done that vision, I would draw out the vision. And I have a picture of the luxury apartment that I want to stay in. I know as I walk in the door, I can see an island on the kitchen to my left. I can see a pool table over there. I can see window to floor windows, floor to ceiling windows going 180 degrees around my apartment. I have a nice table with a lovely lounge area. It's massive. It's truly beautiful, and I can feel the leather as I sit down on the lounge. I know where I'm going to do my morning study as I'm in that vision. So there's a luxury apartment in Dubai. I know exactly what I want. I'm incredibly healthy, fit, and very attractive. So I'm incredibly healthy. That means I am going to the fridge and I'm not getting snacks. I'm going to the fridge and I'm getting healthy meals that are right in front of me, and I can see a salad, or I can see a chicken dinner, or I can see something that's in line with being healthy. Fit. So that means I go down to the gym that the apartment has. There's a gym in the apartment complex. So I'll go down to the gym and I'll work out. And when I'm in working out, I'll do exercises, but I will also visualize other skyscrapers around the gym, I don't know what floor it is. I haven't decided on the floor. So I am ultimately creating my reality here, okay? I'm not letting the outside world dictate what's going on. I am creating my own future. I'm creating my reality. And I'm very attractive meaning in physically, how I aesthetically look, but also very attractive in how I operate. Is my personality attractive? Is my lifestyle attractive? Am I attractive? So there's a bundle in there. And then I'm also earning at least €50,000 a month, easily and effortlessly. So €50,000 a month is like, it just is. Right? It's not big or small, because to a billionaire, 50,000 is like nothing. Right? To a person who's earning like 50 euro a month, it's like that's a lot. Right? So it just is. €50,000 just is a figure that I've come to, and that's what I want to earn a month. And then easily and effortlessly, it's a nice frame of mind, because it doesn't mean I'm struggling like to get money. It means like this is just what I'm doing, be it being on podcasts, be it doing public speaking, doing investments. It's easy and it's effortless. I don't see it as a struggle. I don't see it as a real hard panic. So yeah, thank you for getting me to read out my goal on a podcast. Now I really have to go through with it, eh? Of course.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, and thanks for reading out your goal card. And the question that came to mind, Gary, is regardless whatever the goal might be, but how does being very precise on your goal help you to succeed it?
So now we're kind of working with what, at the start we kind of mentioned laws, right? Laws of gravity, right? You could walk off the building, you're going to fall down regardless of who you are. If you're going to try it out, put a trampoline down there. There's another law, that's a primary law. Law of gravity is a primary law of the universe. Law of vibration is another primary law of the universe. Okay, it's a primary law. But the secondary law to law of vibration is law of attraction. Okay, so it's not a primary law of attraction, but law of vibration states that everything is vibrating. Me, you, are energy molecules right now. The laptop, the computer, the desk is all vibrating. My goal is already out there, right? The ability to fly with the Wright brothers was already out there. The internet was already out there before. Nothing is created or destroyed. It's all out there right now. I am just raising my conscious awareness to get onto this level. Like the Wright brothers, they were in there. Wilbur and his other brother, they were in the shack or whatever, knocking away at planes, and eventually they became aware on how to make a plane. Yeah, the internet, people were tapping away, and eventually they became aware how to make the internet. So for me, I have this goal. I'm being very specific with my goal. I know if I'm on the right track, and I'm tipping away by being on podcasts. So I want to get more popular. I know if I have a much more audience, that means I can get more sponsorship deals. That means I can have more revenue. I could sell more courses. I could do premium group. I could do group coaching, do premium one-to-one coaching. So I know having a goal that is out of my reach and tipping away at it, I raise my conscious awareness to get on with this. They're being so I can never say that word, specific. I don't know why it's so specific, but that's what I've been taught throughout my whole journey of personal development, is be specific with what you want. Don't be vague. Oh yeah, here's an example why. Ismael says he wants more money. Okay, well, here's €5, get lost. Yeah, more money is not specific. Yeah, if you ask for more money, you're going to get more money, but how much more do you want? You got to be specific with that. If you want to weigh a certain weight, you want to lose weight, what, you lost a pound, right? Okay, well done. But was that how much you want to lose? So specific. I don't know exactly why being specific, but I know there's benefits to it.
What comes to mind if I throw in the buzzword of dream big and being specific?
Yeah, dream big for sure. Dream big for sure.
Is it something that you practice yourself? Do you call yourself having big dreams, or would you say that you are fairly modest? I do not know your financial situation in that very moment, and I do not know the plans that you are having until November. For some people, what you just read out may sound like very big dreams, and to other people, that might sound like, 6 hours, 7 hours in an airplane away from Ireland is Dubai. So are you a big dreamer? Do you set very high goals? And if so, how does dreaming big help you, support you with that?
Beautiful. Awesome question, because there's a nice answer to it. That as you come out of depression, you just, one day at a time, start to get a bit more confidence in your ability. You start to pick up another thing, and you start to feel better in yourself, and then you can do more things. So just like my goal, I've had it when I was starting out with depression. My goal was like to not do drugs. Okay, when I didn't do drugs, awesome. Right, so now I've got a bit more confidence in myself, a bit more self-esteem. I'm ready to go at the world. Okay, what's next? Okay, cut out the alcohol. Okay, when I cut out the alcohol, that's awesome. I'm moving up. All right, so could I do a financial goal? Right, 10K this year. I want to have in my a couple of years ago. I want to have in my investment account. Boom, done that. Awesome. Right, so confidence builds over time. So yes, this is a goal, and it's a goal that's out of my reach right now, and that's exactly where I want it to be. Not always, but right now in this moment, it is, and I will move towards it because a goal is there. A goal is there to grow you. I don't really believe in goals, although they are. I don't really believe in goals that are, I want to, I don't know, make one call this week. Right? To me, that's not that's not a goal, but to someone else, that is their type of goal.
Exactly. I think it highly is dependent on the circumstances that this very individual is currently in. Because, again, assumption, or maybe I can even speak for myself, 10 years, 15, 20 years back, a very small goal was the main goal. And by now, you wouldn't even consider it a goal anymore, but it can be a goal. So there's no wrong goals out there. If you have a very small goal of calling 3 relatives this week, or making 2 sales this month, or whatever the measure might be, as you said, you develop, you achieve, you believe in yourself, you grow your self-confidence, and out of 2 sales becomes 50. This is your main purpose at the moment. Or from calling 3 relatives in the next month, it becomes visiting 50 of them, or organizing a big party for all your friends and so forth. So I think, as you said, it can develop, and it also, it can decrease and it can increase, right? So until November, maybe once you've achieved that goal, for the next year, you set a very different goal for your personal development or for whatever it may be. So I don't think it has to be a steep curve all the time. You can also play around with what works best in regard to your goals. So thanks very much for sharing that, Gary.
Yeah. To add on to your point, where it's not like a one quantum leap where it's boom, straight up. It is like a process of that, like, because each month on my Instagram, I'll publicly put my goal every first of the month. I'll literally share my story. These are my goals for this month, and sometimes I fail, sometimes I don't. Like, it's awesome. So get them out there. So each goal is contributing towards making that ultimate reality, the lifestyle I want to live, a reality.
Wonderful. And I think that's a great success also to hold yourself accountable in a way, right? So have a goal, communicate it to the outside, and then see if you achieve it or see if you do not achieve it. Gary, I would like to use that moment of our conversation and detail one more topic, and that is energy. I know that you also like to talk about energy quite a bit. I think we've talked about a few ways and tools and techniques on how to obtain energy. But if we would really break it down, what are ways that you follow to get good energy and succeed with your goals eventually?
Energy is a beautiful topic, as we just mentioned, or as I just mentioned, and the law states that everything, 99.99999% of the universe is energy. So you want to have good energy, right? Or maybe you don't. But I imagine to the listeners, they want to have awesome energy inside themselves. Going back to originally what I mentioned is you want to give yourself the best chance of success. You want to give your best chance of succeeding in energy. I know eating bad food is going to make me feel bad, so I try to avoid that. I know eating healthy food is going to make me feel energized, so I eat that. I know getting good sleep is going to make me feel energized, so I do that. Yeah, I know achieving a goal is going to give me energy. I know going out doing a hobby with my friends is going to give me good energy. Doing them things you know you should do consistently literally will change your life for the better. When you hear that little call in the back of your mind, that little voice saying, hey, you should try that, or you should do that, that is a positive thing. And you know it's positive. If you did that thing on a consistent basis, you would be in a way better position in a year's time. And it's also important to realize, and I believe one of my master skills is reasons, okay? Associations, whys. If you look at low energy people, then people don't want to go out do the activities with their friends. They aren't going to have engaging conversations. Their concentration isn't going to be there for engaging conversations, right? They aren't particularly the person that you want to be associated with, because eventually they're going to deplete you and bring your energy down. There's like a million reasons for being in low energy. There's like a million reasons why we could be sad right now. There's also a million reasons why we could be happy. Let's move into a higher state of energy. Why? Well, when we're in a higher state of energy, do we believe in ourselves more or less? Well, we believe in ourselves more, so we can achieve our goals more likely or less likely. Well, we're going to achieve our goals more likely. All right. In conversations, are we going to have more engaging conversations? We're going to be better in conversations. We're going to have more fun in conversations. Yeah. Are we going to have better relationships in general? Yeah, we're going to have better relationships in general because our energy is there, and we're going to sustain them relationships. We're not going to let them fade. We're going to be there consistently growing them. Is our finances going to be better? Are we going to want to take care of our finances when we're in good energy? Will we have the willpower to write down the financial sheets, to look at our finances, or will we just say, I'll do it later, I'll do it next week? Okay, will we take care of our own health? More likely or less likely to take care of our health when we're feeling good or feeling low. Because I know when I'm feeling low, I just want to get a takeaway and watch a movie. And I actually don't want to do that, but that's what my old paradigm tells me to do. So if we can create enough reasons, which people I think undervalue, enough reasons why to do something, we will do it. If you get enough reasons to kill someone, you'll do it. That's just the bottom line. It's a sad truth. You get enough reasons that someone has done something to someone in your family, you will do it. But we can also use that to our advantage. We could have a million reasons why I need to be in a positive state. And I know for me being a 9 out of 10, I need to be in a 9 out of 10 state so I can achieve my goals, so I can take care of my family, so I can achieve my dreams. And when I achieve my dreams, my family's going to be impacted. My friends are going to be impacted. My whole community of people and followers are going to be impacted. It's not only me. Your energy is not only you. You must take care of your energy for a bigger reason. Your business will thank you as well. Okay, everything is going to be ticking on all cylinders when you're in high energy compared to low energy. What do you think, Ismael?
No, I absolutely do agree. And I also do agree that energy spreads, right? I think there's different ways that we can obtain energy. I think there is different ways that we can keep energy. I think the basics, certainly we've mentioned, it's a good night's sleep, whatever that may mean to you, probably something between 7 and 9 hours. It's healthy food, whatever that may mean to you, again, might differ to me. But I think there is a certain understanding of what is healthy, what is good, if it comes to sugar, if it comes to whatever it may be. And exercise, right? And it doesn't really matter if you do exercise in the gym or in the park going for runs. I think there's a lot of different ways to obtain energy, and there's a lot of different ways to keep energy. And I really love the metaphor of spreading energy, because it will not only impact your own life, but it will also impact the life of your close relatives, of your friends, of your community members. And that actually brings me to another question. And you were talking about the why, and you were talking about a bigger reason. And one topic we haven't really discussed much in today's podcast episode yet is charity and giving back. And I believe that this is also to the utmost important to you. And I would like to invite you to speak to that a little bit. Why is it important for you, and what is it that you do, and how does that maybe give you energy?
Yeah, I believe in another law of the universe, which is a secondary law. Okay, and it's a secondary law because law of reciprocity. What you give out, you get back. Okay, so if you're going to give out good, you're going to get back good. You're going to give out great, you're going to get back great. You're going to give out bad, you're going to get bad. And that's the same with the energy. You give out bad, you're going to get bad. Unfortunately, people are caught in that 2 or 3 out of 10 state, and they're wondering why their relationships are bad. They're wondering why the conversations are bad. Well, it's because you are in that state and you're attracting them things into your life. You're attracting the sad videos, you're attracting the sad songs, and it's just a perpetual cycle down there. In terms of charity, charity's awesome. I don't know exactly why it's awesome. I do know why, as reasons come to me, is that you're going to help a community of whatever charity you believe in. And there's probably a million, if you're going to do dogs, you're probably going to give a million dogs homes. That's over exaggeration, but there's a million reasons there in each individual dog. For me, I'm, all any money I made from my book, I gave that to charity. So I was in the free section, but any money I gave to charity, and then I am doing a football charity event that I'm doing in 3 weeks of this date. And that's in Raid of Pieta House. I don't know if you know Pieta House, but that's suicide hotline. And then also Aware, that's Ireland's leading contributor to depression. So obviously they are important to me and close to my heart with my dad committing suicide. And if I can give back to them, and I can also give back to the ultimate community, because there's going to be 112 players, and 112 players might just find the courage then to reach out to someone. There's multiple more reasons to do it. If I could raise money so I could get a staff member to feel happier while they're on the phone line to someone who's feeling suicidal, they can help the person who's feeling suicidal. You really got to go into them things and realize that you are not just you. It's not just you. You are a drop in the ocean, but that drop has a ripple effect out to absolutely every domain of your life. So doing a good thing for charity, yes, cool. It could be anyone doing it, but that charity is going to have a ripple effect to their staff. Hopefully their staff's happier, and when their staff's happier, the people affected by the charity, that could be families, friends, people coming into the shop, they're going to be affected. So yes, charity is important, but I really believe it starts from you. And you with that energy, you with that mindset, that attitude of you are the droplet, you are the node that connects everything around you. And that is going back to taking responsibility for your life. So yeah, that's what I say.
And your charity, again, is inspiring people who are affected to do something similar and to give back as well, right? And Gary, I believe this is the moment where I can acknowledge you for everything that you've done for yourself, but also for your community. So I think you've went through a fairly difficult path for yourself. You learned, you developed, and now you give it back to your community and to your surroundings. And that's a beautiful thing you do. So thanks for doing that, Gary.
You're going to bring a tear to my eye. Thank you, Ismael.
Wonderful. And that leads me to, there's 3 questions that I ask each and every guest on my podcast, Gary. But before we go there, I'm sure that people from my audience, from our audience today, would like to reach out to you and get to know you better. How can they do so?
I'm not usually good at this part, but you can reach out to me on Gary Clinton on Instagram. You're going to find me at mentalhealthhelp.ie. You can find me on Instagram. I'm going to keep going on this journey. I'm going to keep going because I know, just going back to them reasons, that it affects not only me, it affects my family, it affects my friends, it affects anyone I message. If you message me, I know me and you having that conversation matters and it is important. So it's going to impact you. So yeah, you can reach me there. I'm still going to be on this journey. You're going to still see me in the future.
Wonderful. I will make sure to link all your socials. And before we go into those 3 and final questions, Gary, is there anything that you believe we haven't talked about sufficiently in today's podcast episode? And yeah, is there something that's on your mind that you would like to share before we go to the last-ish questions? Because we never know where those questions will turn us.
Awesome. I think there's one little area, and it's quite a big area in a lot of people's life, that if I didn't mention it, it wouldn't be in line with my goal. And it's a bit more on finances, right? Because I absolutely believe that if you focus on it, it's, where your focus goes, energy flows. So for me, who wants to have 50,000 euro a month, I must focus on finances. There's no 2 ways about it. I can't get around not focusing on finances or something that can bring me more financial well-being. What I want to give to your audience is just 2 things real quick on finances. I'm down always to have a conversation about finances. Is an abundance hack. One of my friends shared this with me, which is something that can absolutely blow your mind. Well, it blew my mind in anyways. Is that if they're listening right now, or if they're walking, or they're on a bus, their car, whatever, maybe they're just sitting down. Look around you. If you look around you, right, the wall, the wallpaper, the desk, the laptop, the phone, the pen, the marker, the wall, the street, the cars, they're all made with money. There is not a finite amount of money out there, right? Your clothes, everything you see practically, perhaps in the sky, the air, and your own physical body is basically made out of money. It's like 99% of things, right? So there's not a finite amount out there. Cars going by. I'd say there's probably about 1 million more of cars that go by. If you go down to a car dealership, there's probably like 1 million more of cars there. And so every truck that's on the motorway right now has cargo, and there's just infinite amount out there that you can really just take from. So don't think that 50,000 euro is big or it's small. Just it is. The second thing that I want to mention is the thermostat. We all have this thermostat, financial thermostat. And the thermostat is that if we are set to, what would happen if we done a thermostat that was at 58 degrees or Fahrenheit? If it's set to 58 degrees and someone opens the door and the windows are open, the thermostat's going to go down to 48 degrees. And 48 degrees, what's going to happen? The heating's going to kick in, the furnace is going to go on, and the temperature is going to raise back up to 58 degrees. And what happens if the people have got the fan on, they've got the computer, and the temperature is going to go up to 78 or 68 degrees when the thermostat's on and stuff's going on in the house. Right? So then what happens? The thermostat kicks in, the aircon turns on, it brings it back down to 58 degrees. Now at 58 degrees, that is me and you. That is our standard right now. And we have all individual standards, just like we have our own scale of 1 to 10. We have our own current financial situation. And that is our situation. That is our 58 degrees. And in order to raise your 58 degrees to another standard, it could be at 78 degrees, but we're still going to call it 58 because it's a new standard. We must change who we view ourselves. Right? We've got to change our self-image. And we also do this with our self-image. We feel 58 degrees, we feel worth it, kind of, but then we also got to raise our self-image to feel like a 68 degree person, to feel more confident. So you got to raise your standards in your finances. So there's two things. Abundance hack, look around you. There's absolute abundance there. And the second thing is your thermostat. Raise your own standards. Move from your 40, 50, 100 euro, whatever it is in the bank account, move that up to 500. Set that as your new standard. Set that as your new thermostat. Then move it up again. All right, Ismael. I'm ready.
Believe in yourself and know that whatever you believe is in fact possible. And that's true for your mind, but that's also true for your bank account if you only focus enough on that. So thanks a lot for detailing that. And yeah, I think the whole topic of personal finance is really a big one. And maybe, well, I always say it's good to have a reason to come back to a conversation number 2. So let's just leave it with that. And thanks for sharing that, Gary. And that leads me to the first of my 3 final-ish questions. And that is, Gary, what influenced and motivated you over the past week?
What influenced and motivated me over the past week? I became aware of a massive insight. I'm doing a Bob Proctor course. It's a 6-month course. It's pretty in depth. You got to do study every morning, every evening. And I had a massive realization from that. And that realization is that you become what you think about. What does that mean? Well, apparently all great leaders in the past said you become what you think about. So if you think about finance, you're going to get finance. You think about emotions, you're going to get emotions. If you think about your goal, you got to get your goal. Now, what we need to do is think about our goal over and over and over and over and over again until it becomes automatic, gets into the subconscious mind. That has been an inspiring motivation for me in the past week.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And the second question, Gary, is who are your mentors and whom do you look up to?
Beautiful. I often hear people say like they don't have mentors, and that's cool, but I think they're maybe possibly limiting themselves. I think Tony Robbins, #1 success coach in the world, has to be there. He's like, how he operates on a day-to-day basis with his energy, with his impact on the world is massive. So Tony Robbins, I would say Kevin Hart for some reason. Kevin Hart, Will Smith is inspiring, even regardless of what's happened in his life. And I think I'm gonna go with Bob Proctor because I'm in his course right now. So yeah, there's 4 people. I could say Conor McGregor as well because I'm Irish and biased and all that stuff.
There you go. That's a good handful of mentors and people whom you look up to. And I believe, I'm fairly sure that they all have their qualities to look up to. So thanks for sharing that, Gary.
The average of your 5, right?
That's right. And the other question is, the third and last question is, and that's a rather hypothetical question that I ask each and every of my podcast guests, and I call it the 3 truths. So Gary, I would like you to imagine, to picture yourself traveling all by yourself in space. And you're traveling for a couple of months, maybe even a couple of years. And after all that solo travel, you encounter a human-like species. And they can only process 3 facts or 3 truths about humanity before they decide whether or not they want to get to know us. What do you tell them?
It's really interesting because there's many things going on in my mind. I think 3 truths that I would bring to a higher entity that would be questioning, getting operating with us. That we are mostly good at heart. That we are mostly love, and that's who we want to express on a day-to-day basis. And 99% of us are good. This is the first truth. I'm going to have to get myself to number 3. So I'm going to have to go with this one as get on Ismael's podcast. That's going to be the second one. And that humanity can make, with our incredible minds, that humanity can make anything in this universe. That we can create anything that we conceive in our imagination. So there's 3. You go 1, humans are mostly good at heart or really good with love. 2, get on Ismael's podcast. And 3, I just forgot it. That
creation, that we can create inherently good things. We are inherently good. We can develop by looking at different things and getting on the self-development journey, and that we can create. And I love that answer. Thank you so much, Gary, for being here, for being on this very podcast. And if there's any last and final words for our audience today.
No, not right now. I think we could save it for a second conversation. I still got to ask you about your 0 to 7 period of growing up.
Wonderful. We shall do that. And with that, Gary, have a wonderful day. Talk soon.
Thank you very much. You too.
If you enjoy and learn from the Just Another Mindset podcast, please make sure to share this episode with a friend or 2 and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And if you want to receive a brief overview of what made me think over the past week and join like-minded individuals, you may want to sign up to my weekly newsletter. It is easy to sign up. It is super easy to unsubscribe again. You will get information on the newest podcast episode, and you will also get an overview of the content, books, and podcasts mainly, that I am consuming, and I evaluate what I've learned over the past week. You will also get your weekly dose of optimism, because you will receive the Smile News with 7 things that went right this week. And finally, you will get access to all my speaker notes that you can use to follow exercises and answer questions discussed in the podcast. Just follow the link in my bio to sign up for my newsletter, and I'm already excited to see you on the other side. If there is any future topic or guest that you would like to hear more about on the Just Another Mindset podcast, please let me know by leaving a comment on YouTube or sending a mail directly to contact@ismaelwondergarten.com. And if nobody told you lately, be reminded that you are worthy, you matter, and you can achieve anything.